We are live now, ma'am. Life is inherently risky. There is only one big risk you should avoid at all cost, and that is the risk of doing nothing. What people remember is the beginning, the end, how we started and how we finished. Therefore, it is important to start fast and finish strong. A very good morning, everyone. I'm Deepika, student teacher of Army Institute of Education, Greater Noida. Feel privileged to welcome you all in online principal talk series on the topic democratic decision making, concept and procedure with respect to functioning of a school by Dr. Ramma Mattoo, Principal, Army Public School, Mathura, Cantt. Before moving forward, I would like to request you all to devote few minutes for Gayatri Mantra, as it is the easiest way to get in touch with universal power. So please close your eyes and seek blessing from Almighty. Over to you, Manoj sir.
ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्.
Thank you, sir. Being a good leader isn't about having power over others, but about instilling power in others, said by Jessica Boone. So now I would like to invite Dr. Tanya Gupta ma'am, Principal, Army Institute of Education, Greater Noida, to formally welcome Dr. Ramma Mattoo ma'am, Principal, Army Public School, Mathura, Cantt, Uttar Pradesh. Over to you, Principal ma'am.
Dear Deepika, thank you so much for inviting me to do the honor. And it's really a pleasant view to see these student teachers, and especially our senior batch. They are in the midst of writing their university examination. And it's so nice to see you here back with all confidence and your routine good anchoring. So, yes, it's a privilege for all the viewers that, we have yet another wonderful principal and academician with us today for a session which is on a very, very pertinent topic, that is democratic decision making. And we have with us Dr. Ramma Mattoo, Principal, Army Public School, Mathura, Cantt. Ma'am, on behalf of the management of the Army Institute of Education, my student teachers, all the alumni batches that have gone, they've passed out from AIE, and my colleagues, I feel really honored and grateful that you have consented to be with us here this morning and to speak on such a wonderful topic, that is democratic decision making. So as you're already aware, we are conducting this online principal talk series with the objective of giving our student teachers the hands-on experiential learning of what are the expectations of schools from the budding teachers. And you would agree, one very major aspect of the functioning of a school is to make decisions democratically. So we are all very, very happy that you're here with us to speak on this topic. I welcome you on behalf of everyone once again, ma'am. Over to you, Deepika.
Thank you, ma'am. Any great achievement is preceded by many difficulties and many lessons. Great achievements are not possible without them. Rightly said by Brian Tracy. Dr. Ramma Mattoo is an eminent educationist with degree in Masters in Education and Honorary Doctorate of Education from Commonwealth Vocational University, Kingdom of Tonga, and Diploma in Computer Office Management. She started his teaching career in 1995 as a teacher, academic coordinator, and also served as a vice principal before joining as principal. Ma'am is currently serving as a principal of Army Public School, Mathura, Cantt. Ma'am has been chief editor in Wednesday Times Jammu chapter, director advocacy and spokesperson of Private School Association Jammu and Kashmir, vice president at Speedball Association of India, and lifetime member of School Network CED Foundation. Ma'am has conducted various workshops, numerous talks and presentations for prestigious schools across states, and also represented as a panelist speaker at many forums during pandemic 2020, including some at Global Edu Leaders, Indian Principal League, EduRite Talks, and many more. This is my immense pleasure to invite such a versatile and diverse personality on the board. And now the platform is all yours, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Deepika. First of all, I extend my heartful thanks to Dr. Tanya Gupta, Principal, Army Institute of Education, for giving me such a wonderful opportunity to start a lovely morning with you all. And thank you so much for giving such an elaborated description about me. I'm a very small, I'm just a very small person. You presented it very large. So let us not waste time further about myself. Let us bank on to the topic we have already got today, that how is democracy and education basically connected, and how can we work in a democratic form when it comes to the functioning of the schools. As we are addressing a group of people who are actually looking forward to be the edu leaders or mentors or teachers. So I'll begin my presentation. I would request if we can share the presentation, please. Yes, we can see the topic, the democratic decision making, the concept and procedures with respect to functioning of school. Next. So to begin with, let's go with the quote. Education is not preparation for life. Education is life in itself. Uh, very well quoted by someone. If we talk about education, education is a means of social continuity of life. We all are basically born immature, helpless, without any language, beliefs, ideas, social standards. uh, we understand these things actually determine our birth and death, and then we realize that what is the necessity of education. It helps us to attain decision making skills which are very important for our lives and social issues. It defines the alternatives and helps us to choose one of them as applying our decision making skills. It links us with creative and critical thinking as well. It helps us to take necessary alternatives in our life. It helps to evaluate the alternatives. It helps us to choose one decision out of so many choices. It helps us to cooperate and lead as a group. It gives us an ability to solve disputes in a very peaceful manner. It helps us to establish ethical relationships. So, if we talk about this quote, it will not be wrong to say that democratic attitude of school administrators actually create a sense of confidence among staff and students, which in turn increases the power of school administrators on influencing and binding people around scientific purpose. So, if we come to the next slide, we see what is the meaning and scope of democracy. As we all know, democracy has a very simple definition, but let us go to the beginning. Democracy is basically derived from two words, demos, which means people, and kratos, which means power. So, in short, we can say that democracy is a power of the people. Aristotle defined democracy as government by many. And if we talk about our country, in the period 2000 to 1500 BC, India was neither a centralized nor a hereditary form of government. But that time it was a government by participation. And if we conceptualize it, that the Vasudeva Kutumbakam, that concept actually was founded in the Aryan democracy, and later on the Roman concept also evolved from this indirect democracy only. So, if we talk about one more person, that is Abraham Lincoln, he actually said that ruling power rests with people without distinction of caste, creed, color, and gender. So, what is democracy nowadays? It's a certain way of life characterized by respect for dignity of any individual, encouragement of the uniqueness in humans, cooperation, free exchange and development of ideas, and tolerance of intellectual difference. Now, when we talk about so many things, we have actually defined the detail of a short form of democracy, which we usually say the democracy is is for the people by the people, and it's like uh, by the people for the people, and there's one more thing. So now, democracy in itself has various types. So, can we go to the next slide? Yes. So when we talk about democracy, it seems it's a single word, but there are certain aspects, or there are certain types that a democracy works on. So if we come to the first, ethical democracy. What is ethical democracy basically? It rests on faith that every individual is entitled to full respect for his dignity and worth as an individual. We can see the other one, the political democracy. What does that mean? It means when a democracy gives emphasis on formation and functioning of government. It deals with election, voting power, sharing in government, suffrage, and much more. If we see the other aspect, other type of democracy, it's the economic democracy. What does that mean? It means when a democracy seeks to break down caste and class distinction and implies equality of opportunity. And if we talk about the social democracy, it is, sorry, the one which I spoke is basically the social democracy. And if I talk about the economic democracy, it is evident that economic life and activities of people where they satisfy their basic needs of food, shelter, and clothing. It covers the economic democracy. Can we go to the other slide, sir? So, when we connect democracy and education, two things that come forward are it helps in clear thinking, that is capacity for new thoughts, so that a person becomes capable to distinguish between facts and illusion. And other is clearance in speech and writing. What does that help us to? It brings in us an ability to be for independent in respect of discussions and speak peacefully with clear expressions in speaking and writing. Next. Now we see that we have shown an interrelationship between democracy and education. These are basically the principles of democracy. It's liberty, equality, justice, and fraternity. If I can just compile the whole four, the book definition comes in the next slide, which says, so next slide. The sovereign of Democratic Republic of India ensures to all its citizens social justice, economic and political justice, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, worship, equality of status, opportunity, and promote among them all fraternity, ensuring the dignity of the individual and unity of the nation. So, when we say this definition, so we can simply say that actually democratic words can be discussed because it is the base that is made in the schools. Then we can just elaborate in it in further things. The democratic principles as applied when school functioning of the school comes. Let us start with the liberty in education. How can liberty be given a stage or a platform in the educational institutions? So basically, education through freedom is emphasized in a democracy, and the child is to be educated in an atmosphere of freedom. Democratic principles of liberty, equality, responsibility, justice, cooperation, they should find full realization in education to make it effective and meaningful. So basically, freedom is considered as an antithesis of discipline. And many times, discipline and order are often misunderstood by mixing the terms. We usually say when the school is disciplined, what do we do that time? It's like we crop the freedom and we can see the visible order, but that does not actually imply good discipline. So, if we talk about the other part, that is equality of education, what is that? It is four things which are most important when it comes to functioning of the school. First is discipline, second is behavior, third is orderliness, and fourth one is the good conduct. These are the basic foundations that are to be laid in school at the foundation level. Students actually may realize that they are free only when they follow the sense of conscious. They should be taught in such a manner that they should do only those things which their conscience allows them to do. Students should develop the courage and competence to investigate the truth. Students should be free from any type of influence which actually prevents them to seek or say this speak the truth. The essential see It's very essential to achieve the purpose of excellence in one field or the other. Now if I just connect this sentence, I can just connect NEP 2020 here with this sentence when I say it is essential to achieve the purpose of excellence. So, if we go into details, NEP 2020 is totally laying emphasis on the child centered learning, and it actually gives all the opportunities to the teachers or teaching fraternity to give child a space, open space to learn and show his excellence. So it will be adequate to provide best facilities to children so that they are able to develop their abilities to the optimum. So, main emphasis should be laid on the quantitative and qualitative uh, scenes of the quality or equality of education, irrespective of caste, creed, color, social status, because we are associated with such institutions where we have a variety of children coming from all different stratas of life. So, if we talk about the other point that shows on the screen, which is fraternity in education, what does that mean? So, fraternity in education means universal brotherhood. Universal brotherhood is actually the main tenet of the democracy. Students, teachers, parents, non teaching staff, all the stakeholders in the field of education should be bonded with love, sympathy, empathy, understanding, and fellow feeling. The we moral and the nationalistic spirit needs to be developed in the future generations of the country, and that is only possible when we come to the functioning of the school and when we say it's happening through education. If we come to the other point, justice in education, how is it possible? See, equalization of educational opportunities, liberty, and fraternity, these are the three basics of justice. And when these three work in hand to hand and we take care of all the things there, so it is in itself the justice in education. The idea of social and economic justice needs to be inculcated among the students from the very beginning. It will help them to learn many ways how to deal with the situations. We should make up for the deficiencies, for removing the economic, social, and cultural barriers, so that injustice, if it is happening anywhere, can be done away with. Now, when it comes to sharing responsibilities in education, it means that education is no body's personal responsibility. So, education is basically a joint responsibility of all the stakeholders, be it a child, be it a teacher, be it a parent, or be it anyone who is associated with functioning of the school or college or university. So, everyone has his or her own set of responsibilities. In the eyes of law and justice, we all know that everybody is equal and has his or her own voice and views to be expressed. So, this is what is basically being to be inculcated in a child from the beginning, so that everybody knows what rights and how is he or she going to go with his rights. Now, if we discuss the last point, that is cooperation in education. So, as a principle of democracy, it is important to utilize functioning of the school, starting from planning to execution, from teaching to assessment, from administration to supervision. So, all these things need a lot of collaboration, which will actually cooperate the whole system in education. All the students need to be trained through certain programs or projects, or if we talk about nowadays, it is online training and webinars. What should be they trained for? They should be trained for how to plan and work with others, how to promote the team spirit, how to acquire the skills, how to help others, how to be empathetic, and much more. Like you can just take a topic and you can just ask a child that you need to be well versed with all these things, and in turn it will help that child to develop a best season. So now, if we talk about imparting and inculcating in so many things in a child, who is the mediator? So mediator is a teacher, like aspirants like you all, who are the first person. Actually, you are the best judge to take the decision. How should we go ahead in teaching and making learning easier and interested? So we can say, what is the role of a teacher? Teacher is basically a leader. Teacher is the first person of the classroom. A teacher has to work as a king of the kingdom. A teacher has to be very energetic. Teacher should be ready for all the new challenges. Teachers should have a problem solving attitude. Teachers should be able to inculcate values among students. Teacher has to be a very effective orator. A teacher has to be a very, very unbiased personality. And above all, a teacher needs to be a trustworthy person, because a student takes a teacher as his or her idol. So, when we connect these things, a teacher should have a value for democracy at the same time. So, when we say the value of democracy, so we'll talk in certain points. So, it is respect for dignity of any individual. So, it is respect for freedom, equality of opportunity, it's group living, it's teamwork, it's tolerance, it's faith in change, it's faith in peaceful methods, adapting peaceful methods. It's a teacher has to be a great believer in justice. A teacher has to be a great believer in secularism. A teacher has to be the most empathetic person, not a sympathetic person. So these are the things which actually help us to be a best effective teacher who can actually connect education with the system. When our education system goes as success, the democracy is in itself a success. Can we move to the other slide, please? Okay, before going to the functioning of the schools, uh, we can say that a, we have already discussed the role of a teacher, right? So now we can just summarize these things in by saying that what is basically the aim of education. So education is basically a necessity. Why is it necessity? We should just go back to the quote, because education in itself is life, and if we have to live, we have to be educated, and education, we can see, is the necessity of life for certain reasons. Living being is one that subjugates and controls. You already know that life is actually a self renewing process that is only possible through actions on environment. Living maintains themselves by renewal. So if this thing will not happen, nothing will change. Living can be crushed by many superior forces. That is why we talked about that we need to help students to be the independent decision makers. Life is actually a whole range of experience, individual and racial. Life covers the customs, institutions, beliefs, victories, defeats, recreation, occupation. So, when we talk about all these things are basically covered when we say, why do we educate ourselves? Right. So, now how does the function of a school what is the function of a school in educating a child? So function of a school, if we talk about first thing, education as a right of child in India. All of you know that right to education is one of the fundamental rights, so everybody has a right to be educated. Second is education for all. So it again is a very common well known factor. So third is function of school in a democratic society. So we have already discussed many aspects. How can we go with the democratic system in a school functioning? That you have to make the school environment so very child friendly that the child actually adapts and learns to take decisions on his or her own. Can we go to the other slide, please? So before going to the democratization of school education, let me give little more emphasis on what is education as a right of child. We all have heard about the most prestigious forums which have actually worked in the field of education. One is UNO and one is UNESCO. They have worked a lot uh, to bring education sector, upbring the system so that the human rights are at a par. And if we talk about the our constitution, so it's very clear from article 45 of our constitution. It gives the uttermost importance to education as a place of great importance. And now we can see that even the ministry of education is a new name that has come up by renaming the Ministry of HRD. Why is it being given the importance? Because education has basically to play a role to for the better nation. Education for all, when we talk for all, it is actually an international target and a national challenge. because India is such a country which has a huge population, and we have to actually fully empower and democratize the whole system to make education a success. So democratization of education, when we see, when we talk about it, it seems that it is elusive in a country like India, as we see mass of the people still they are illiterate. Still, we see heavy dropouts from the schools. Still, at present, we see there's very low attendance, the huge number of failures, besides physically challenged children who are many times deprived of education. So, these are the challenges we are still facing, in spite of saying that right to education is a fundamental right. And when we say that education for all, so we should not forget that there are again certain issues which need to be addressed when it comes to education for all. So like if I say that uh, basic access to basic education needs the prime focus, that is primary education. Luckily, NEP 2020 is now focusing on the primary education, which we all know that ECC, main focus is coming on early childhood care and education. So, another important point that needs attention when we say that education for all has to be impactful in India, what is the most thing that disturbs us is disparity of success in respect of gender discrimination. Many of us know that still in this 21st century, or in this era, still the girl child is discriminated as at many different platforms. So this is again a challenge which needs to be covered through education. Other thing is quality of education. See, government has already introduced so many programs to bring the education system at par with other countries, but somehow we cannot say that yes, we are a success. We are still in a process of getting a better system. Why? Because in terms of access and achievement, we are lacking behind. If we see the working system in our government institutions, in spite of all the funds, in spite of all the financial stabilities, the system is not doing so well. Why? Again, a role of education. So these things are the challenges that we need to cover when it comes to education for all. So other thing is we have resources with us, but we don't know how to use them efficiently. We can use certain other resources, additional resources, if we mobilize all the resources. But again, it depends how to do that. So now, when we talked about the system, if we make our school functioning totally democratic, how will it help us? See, schools usually lay stress on the importance of teamwork. It lays stress on value of empathy. It lays stress on compassion. It lays stress on sharing. It lays stress on formation of the good community. So that is how the democratic system basically works. So functioning of a school in a democratic environment basically provides enrichment of the individual life and harnessing of the innovation and excellence of the entire society if we take the overall view. Democratic environment in school again helps us to develop innate potentialities of the child. It helps us to produce a disciplined youth. It helps us to nurture the creativity. It helps us to make them social. It helps us to make them a corporate member of the society. Using different methods of teaching helps us to promote the congenial discussion of nurturing the environment. If we say that the system or the climate in the school is democratic, the life and human relations are important factors that help students to learn the way of life and value interpersonal relationships and help in all round development of their personality. See, if I talk about the army institutions, our focus is always the holistic development of the child. So, we should not forget that school is not a replication of society. School is a society in itself. If I quote John Dewey, he suggested that school should be developed as a genuine form of community life where a person or a child, when he or she comes out of the school, he or she should be a citizen, or she should be well equipped to take a decision how to go ahead in life. School actually should start laying stress on the individual discovery, plus hands on practice, opportunity to create work, insist on the work and play competencies together. So actually work and play should be complementary. It is not that work and play should be opposite. If we say you just work, a child will not grow physically, and if we say you just play, then we say that the child is not focusing on academics. So we should always focus on work and play as complementary thing when it comes to functioning, which in turns will help our upcoming generation to grow as mature and balanced human beings. So, can we move on to the other slide if I see if there is some other slide? Yes, I think we have discussed these all: education as right of child, education for all. We have discussed the function of school in a democratic society. So, if it comes to citizenship education in India, what is it? See, schools basically act as the stepping stones to adopt the democratic form of existence. Citizenship in democracy is exacting and challenging for every child who needs to be trained. What it involves? It basically involves intellectual things, society, moral qualities, which cannot anyway grow on their own. These are to be inculcated, these are to be, you know, brought into the system, and these are possible only when it comes to education in the system. So, schools in India, if we say, they emphasis on the overall development of a human personality by providing a judicious mix of curricular and co-curricular activities. So when I say curricular and co-curricular activities, there we are not skipping on the academic part. Means we have to make sure that whatever way we are adapting to make a child to grow in his life, we have to take and balance all these three. That is academics, their co-curricular activities, co-curricular activities and curricular activities. Now these things are actually being looked upon by the government as well. So Indian schools basically harbor a multitude of races, regions. So we discussed this point earlier also, because in our schools or in our any part of the country, we have a group of children which come from this different strata of life, not in respect of caste, region and color only. It's they come from different races, they come from different religions, they come from different communities, they come with a unique lifestyle, they come with different languages, they come where they use different costumes. So all these things are to be balanced, and a child needs to understand how to grow by respecting all the other things which a child is not having with himself or herself. So we just can sum up this by saying the school system in India basically works to inculcate certain qualities which are necessary for living as a global citizen. What are such qualities? Let me talk a few. Qualities like discipline, cooperation, social sensitiveness, tolerance, by developing respect for all cultures, respect for other festivals, and encourage cross cultural discussions. These are the things which basically we focus on. So, can we move on the other slide? So, we have a short video. I just thought it is good to share this video with all of you to get a better gist how it helps in the functioning of school. Can we play that video? No.
The
इसलिए शिक्षा का उद्देश्य होना चाहिए कि स्टूडेंट्स के डेमोक्रेसी एंड एम्स ऑफ एजुकेशन डेवलप डेमोक्रेटिक वैल्यूज इन स्टूडेंट्स। भारत एक लोकतांत्रिक देश है। यहाँ की सफलता किस चीज़ पे डिपेंड है? यहाँ के सिटीजन्स पे। इसलिए शिक्षा का उद्देश्य होना चाहिए कि स्टूडेंट्स के अंदर डेमोक्रेटिक वैल्यूज, लोकतांत्रिक मूल्यों को डेवलप करे। मतलब हमारे अंदर वो क्वालिटीज डेवलप हो कि हम एक दूसरे की रिस्पेक्ट कर सकें और न्यायप्रिय बन सकें। स्टूडेंट बिकम सेल्फ रिलायंट। एक गरीब व्यक्ति हर तरह की उत्पीड़न है, शोषण है, उसका शिकार हो सकता है। इसलिए एजुकेशन के थ्रू स्टूडेंट्स को किसी कार्य में ट्रेंड करना चाहिए जिससे कि वो आत्मनिर्भर बन सके और देश की सेवा कर सके। डेवलपमेंट ऑफ गुड हैबिट्स। हमारी आदतें ये डिफाइन करती हैं कि हम किस तरह से लोगों के साथ रहेंगे। डेमोक्रेसी को सफल बनाने के लिए शिक्षा के थ्रू स्टूडेंट्स में अच्छी आदतों का निर्माण करना चाहिए। डेवलप रीजनिंग पावर ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स। आज के जो बच्चे हैं वो कल देश के नागरिक बनेंगे। उनके सामने पॉलिटिकल है, सोशल है और इकोनॉमिक्स से रिलेटेड बहुत सारे इशू को डिस्कस करना चाहिए जिससे कि वो क्लियरली इनसे रिलेटेड किसी भी टॉपिक पे सोच सकें और निर्णय दे सकें। लीडरशिप डेवलपमेंट। स्टूडेंट्स भविष्य के नागरिक हैं, इनको देश की विभिन्न विभिन्न जिम्मेदारियों को निभाना है। इसलिए शिक्षा के थ्रू इनके अंदर लीडरशिप क्वालिटीज को डेवलप करना चाहिए। फीलिंग ऑफ नेशनल एंड इंटरनेशनल ब्रदरहुड। एजुकेशन के थ्रू स्टूडेंट्स के अंदर राष्ट्रीय और अंतर्राष्ट्रीय भाईचारे की भावना को उत्पन्न करना चाहिए। डेमोक्रेसी एंड करिकुलम। कुछ पॉइंट्स हैं जिन पे जो है डेमोक्रेटिक करिकुलम बेस्ड होते हैं, जिनमें सबसे पहला फ्लेक्सिबल है। डेमोक्रेटिक करिकुलम फ्लेक्सिबल होना चाहिए जो व्यक्ति की विभिन्न आवश्यकताओं के अकॉर्डिंग चेंज हो सके, और करिकुलम का कुछ पोर्शन जो है वो सभी स्टूडेंट्स के लिए फिक्स होना चाहिए। लेकिन करिकुलम में कुछ सब्जेक्ट्स ऑप्शनल भी होने चाहिए जिनको स्टूडेंट्स अपने इंटरेस्ट के अकॉर्डिंग सेलेक्ट करके पढ़ें। बेस्ड ऑन लोकल नीड्स। डेमोक्रेटिक करिकुलम लोकल नीड्स और लोकल रिसोर्सेज पे बेस्ड होना चाहिए, लेकिन टाइम और प्लेसेस के अकॉर्डिंग करिकुलम को चेंज होना चाहिए। वोकेशनल सब्जेक्ट्स। डेमोक्रेटिक करिकुलम में वोकेशनल सब्जेक्ट्स होने चाहिए जो देश की आर्थिक आवश्यकताओं को पूरा करने में मदद करें। अचीवमेंट ऑफ सोशल एम। पाठ्यक्रम का निर्माण करते वक्त सामाजिक उद्देश्यों और मूल्यों को ध्यान में रखना चाहिए। एंश्योर द टोटल डेवलपमेंट ऑफ पर्सनालिटी। डेमोक्रेटिक करिकुलम ऐसा हो जिससे व्यक्ति के व्यक्तित्व का पूर्ण विकास हो सके। डेमोक्रेसी एंड मेथड्स ऑफ टीचिंग। इसमें सबसे पहला एक्टिविटी मेथड है, फिर है लेबोरेटरी मेथड, मॉन्टेसरी मेथड। मॉन्टेसरी मेथड में क्या होता है, मॉन्टेसरी ने कुछ जो है उपकरण डेवलप किए हैं, उनका प्रयोग करके टीचिंग की जाती है। ह्यूरिस्टिक मेथड। ह्यूरिस्टिक एक ग्रीक शब्द है जिसकी मीनिंग होती है खोजना। इसमें बच्चों के सामने प्रॉब्लम्स प्रेजेंट की जाती हैं और स्टूडेंट्स उसका सॉल्यूशन खुद ढूंढते हैं। एक्सपेरिमेंट मेथड। Democracy and teacher. The teacher is devoted wholeheartedly in developing democratic ideals and values in the students. डेमोक्रेटिक वैल्यूज और आइडियाज पूरे मन के साथ टीचर्स बच्चों के अंदर डेवलप करने की कोशिश करते हैं। टीचर शुड अलाउ चिल्ड्रन टू डेवलप अकॉर्डिंग टू हिज ओन इंडिविजुअलिटी। टीचर्स इंडिविजुअल डिफरेंसेस को ध्यान में रखते हुए स्टूडेंट्स को अलाउ करें कि वो अपने इंटरेस्ट और कैपेबिलिटीज के अकॉर्डिंग डेवलप हों। टीचर emphasized upon environment for the development of child. डेमोक्रेटिक सोसाइटी में टीचर्स हेरिडिटी के स्थान पर एनवायरनमेंट को ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट मानते हैं बच्चों के विकास के लिए। इसलिए टीचर्स एक ऐसा लर्निंग एनवायरनमेंट क्रिएट करते हैं जिससे कि बच्चे का प्राकृतिक तरीके से विकास हो सके। फुली कॉन्शियस अबाउट हर राइट्स एंड ड्यूटीज, टीचर्स को अपने अधिकार जो हैं और जो उनके कर्तव्य हैं उनके बारे में पूरी जानकारी होनी चाहिए। डेमोक्रेसी एंड डिसिप्लिन, डेमोक्रेटिक स्कूल सपोर्ट सेल्फ डिसिप्लिन। डेमोक्रेटिक फिलॉसफी ने सेल्फ डिसिप्लिन को सपोर्ट किया है। वो किसी भी तरह के बाहरी दबाव को बच्चों के ऊपर सपोर्ट नहीं करते।
So,
डेमोक्रेसी
sir,
एंड
we can
डिसिप्लिन
stop it here. Yes. Thank you so much for watching this video. So I can see certain questions that have come up in the chat box. Somebody has written that implementation is still a problem. Yes, very true. See, we have policies, we have planning, but we are very aware when it comes to the implementation. That is where we face the challenges. So implementation is always a problem, and it is always a challenge to implement the things. Now see, NEP 2020 has come long back, but still the discussions are going on. How do we go to start with it? That is why now the government has again come up with the thing that we are not going to implement policy immediately, because we need to plan first. Before implementing anything into our system, we need a proper planning, we need a proper training. So all of you are the inspiring teachers. You must be aware, you were students, and you must be aware that we had started with a very beautiful system of continuous and comprehensive evaluation in the schools. Why was it done? It was done to see the overall growth of a child, not focusing on the academics only. But the system failed very badly. Why? Because it was just implemented in a go, without even training the teachers, without even realizing that how will we go ahead without training the lot, without under making the stakeholders understand how the system is to be used. So yes, I agree, Mr. Shubham, that implementation is a challenge, but then challenges are to be dealt. So challenges need planning. That is what I talked about my thing when I was saying that we have to prepare children how to deal with the challenges. And when we speak about dealing with the challenges, it starts from planning. So you need to plan the things, you need on to see the pros and cons, you need to see the negatives and positives of the thing, come with an outcome, that if this thing is implemented, what will be the result. So we have to just give it a try. After that we can implement it. So I can see one more question here in the chat box. A question by Ms. Darshan. How educator and model democratic decision making in school. So we have discussed this thing. It comes in the role as an educator. When you are a leader in the school or in a class, you are already a decision maker. So you actually need to deal with the things. Whatever challenges come in your way, you have to be a role model, and you should be able to make a decision. That is where your skills work. And when you are a good decision maker, then only you can help your children or students to be a better decision maker. And when we talk about the COVID pandemic impact, uh, I am a little different here, because COVID situation is taken very drastically and very negatively by most of us, because we are all human beings. We see and lay importance on the negatives first, then we think on the positives. But why can't we take it positive? If we talk about the COVID situation or the pandemic, if it would not have happened, certain things would not have renewed. The pollution thing, the pollution level gone down drastically in almost all the states of India. uh, People got time to interact with their families, people got time to know the relations, people got know to respect their relations, people got to know. And most important, when it comes to education sector, what is most important is a parent realized his or her role. Every time it was always said that school is there to inculcate this thing, school is there to inculcate that thing, school is there to be the master role player. But now parents realize that we were just pointing out the things. When it comes to us, or if I say about myself as a parent, I realized I can handle a school, but I cannot handle a single child who is at my home, because that child is basically not my student. He or she is my son or daughter. So, child is very, very connected with the teacher. And this connection got missing somewhere when it came to online teaching. This connection was revived, not physically, but yes, we started with a virtual hug, we started with the virtual touch, we started with virtual meetings, we started with virtual celebrations. So pandemic situation is, or can be taken as a positive at present in our education sector. So, coming to the next question from Pushpa Kumari, how can we ensure that government teachers are doing well in their profession, as after becoming government teacher, they do not pay heed to teaching efficiency of the student? So, this question is answered in itself. It is basically uh, the inner go of a person, how you're groomed, how you're taught, what have you learned after being educated. See, we can say everybody may be literate who gets a job, but we cannot say that everybody is educated, because if he or she is not able to utilize the knowledge he or she has gained, then he cannot be educated. So it is unfortunate to some extent when it comes to the government organizations. I already talked about it. The system goes somewhere corrupt, because the responsibility is shredded off. So it is not that the system is a failure. The system is not saying that you don't have to work. The system is looking forward to get results, but it is a person who is lacking behind. So it is actually owning the responsibility. It is actually accountability. How accountable are you when you are a teacher? How responsible are you when it comes to working? So that should be the thing in you, in a self that a person. You have to do a self realization that, am I responsible, am I accountable? If I am, I have to produce the results. It's not that I have to go and get my salary or number of working days to be counted. So I see one more question from Mukesh Kumar Dubey. How can we develop the sense of fixing goals and quantizing the work to achieve it? Along this, how this is very useful to for life. So, Mr. Mukesh, a sense of fixing goals. First, we need to understand that we have to grow a child, we have to help a child to grow, to focus on certain goal. He or she must have some aim in life. So we have to teach a child that whatever is your aim in life, you have to focus on that. You have to see what can you do each day, every day, to go closer to your goal. So when you start doing it from the beginning, you are already planning how to move to your goal, how to move ahead towards your aim in life. It will not be required that it needs special training. So that there again the role of education comes. That includes whatever we talked about when I was talking about all these things. It's all inculcation of certain things, and whatever you deliver to a child, it is that which will help a child to be a decision maker. So do we have some more questions?
There's one more by Amit Singh,
uh
the last
Amit,
one.
Okay, just hold on.
So I'll read it out for you. Deepika, you can read the question for ma'am, please.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, the question
I
from
got it.
Amit.
How the classroom climate enhance the democratic culture. So, Amit, we have discussed so many things. See, I did not touch the methods of teaching, because methods of teaching you all will learn when you're being trained to be teachers. So I will not touch the methods of teaching. But when it comes to democratic culture in class, it is all a bonding between a teacher and a student. What bond are you creating among yourself, among the group of students you are teaching with? If you're actually doing it their way, it will be more effective. If you are doing it your way, it will be little, they will be reluctant to accept that. So that is what the education system today focuses on. We say that the system has shifted its focus. We are now focusing on the learning outcomes. We are now focusing on the experiential learning in schools. We are now focusing on hands on practice. Why are we doing these things? These things are just to make a child comfortable, because every child has a unique property. Every child has a unique a quality, or he or she is a born scientist, or a physicist, or an astrologer, or anything. It's all to be explored, and they are given proper training. See, again, I'll connect this thing to NAP 2020. See, now, National Education Policy 2020 says that vocational training is must as part of curriculum. Why? Because when a child leaves school after class 12th, he or she will be at least equipped in one of the skills which the child has, and that will be explored, or learnt only when it is done in a democratic manner. Democratic manner again means that it has not to be teacher centric. A teacher has to be in the center just to help the children learn, just to help them explore different areas, just to explore the ways of learning. It should be basically child centered, so that they learn, they share, they give suggestions. So child should be open, and he should be taught to question. So that will help him or her to grow. So, ma'am, I think there are no more questions in the chat box now.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable insight and enlighten us on the topic democratic decision making, concept and procedure with respect to functioning of a school. Now, I would like to request Ms. Kavita and Karun ma'am to propose vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Ma'am, before that, ma'am, Principal ma'am, would you like to
Yes.
add more points or to reflect on this session, ma'am?
No,
Uh,
ma'am, not really. I just wanted to, take on to what ma'am has said. These points that, I mean, the key takeaways, I think, are about that planning has to be very, very effective. And you do involve everyone in the form of a teamwork, and you take everyone on board on for a decision. But there are, just to add here, that there are sometimes certain contingencies or certain situations that may not be forecasted beforehand. So for instance, just to take the example of the COVID pandemic, all of us were absolutely functional, in our own respective campuses in the month of March last year. And then suddenly, none of us had anticipated how this pandemic would take shape. And we still do not know till when, we get back into the routine lives. So that was a contingency situation that was created. And for such situations also, I feel that the power of democratic decision making is highly impactful, because when we are dealing with organizations, and organizations are living entities, they are organic, they are made up of people who are contributing day in and out in whatever capacity they are employed at. And now when we speak specifically in terms of a school, so everyone, throughout the working hours that are clearly charted, and beyond that also, are contributing in their own beautiful and unique way for the organizational goals, and for its constant progression towards the vision of what is being worked out, or what is mandated. So everyone is working well, and everyone has an opinion. And I feel that these contingency situations are also places where the leaders, the educational leaders, and the teachers must take the views of their colleagues, views of students is very important. You all know that whenever we have to work on some program, or we have to work on the improvement, then it is very important to take a viewpoint, or say feedback from the stakeholders who are involved, for whom we are working, whether it's the parents, or it is the students, it is the community by and large to whom we are serving. So all this thing helps to effectively implement what you want to do. And wherever there were lapses, wherever we faltered, wherever we could not deliver the way we could have, we always get a roadmap carved. So I feel this is a very, very good way, that decisions should not be taken in isolation. It's not that if one is a head of an institution, of course, some you have to listen to everyone, but you have to come out with one decision. You have to work it out for the organization, because you cannot keep spending excessive time only in discussions. But then involving everyone has a miracle effect, because everyone feels empowered and everyone feels important in the organization. And that is, I think, what ma'am has tried to deliver through her this wonderful presentation, ma'am, that you have given. I truly agree, right? Taking from the democratic principles of the nation to how the democratization of education can take place in the school system. So this is remarkable, and I really feel that you've elaborated extensively and so comprehensively on the topic. So it's been a wonderful journey, ma'am. It's been really wonderful.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Actually, the topic is such, it's so vast. If we give it a full day, it can be a full day discussion as well. Thank you so much once again. Thank
So,
you.
Kavita ma'am, you can please continue. Thank you so much, Kavita ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Deepika, for inviting me to express the gratitude. As part of online principal talk series of Army Institute of Education, today we had Dr. Ramma Mattoo, Principal, Army Public School, Mathura, Cantt, for the topic Democratic Decision Making, Concept and Procedures with respect to functions of a school. Ma'am, you have covered all the aspects that is related with the topic. You have connected that with the national education policy and the need for gender equality, need for making the students independent and decision makers. Of course, ma'am, all these insights, all these valuable points, all will be equally important for our student teachers when they are working as the real teachers in the school to face the requirement of the field. They can use these resources for their effective functioning as democratic teachers. Of course, it will help them to inculcate the democratic culture within oneself and in their classrooms and by the society also. And the democratic leader, one who values, who are the participants, giving independence, giving opportunity to think, giving freedom to work. Of course, we Army Institute of Education, we are fortunate to have a leader like that with us. Ma'am, Principal Ma'am has given us opportunity to flourish oneself and think about what all those things we can do to be in a democratic culture, working culture in an institute. In the concluding remarks itself, ma'am was sharing what should be the role of a leader in enhancing the democratic values in an institution. Of course, ma'am, you are following these values in your working modality. Thank you, ma'am, for giving such opportunity. And we have Deepika and Swati as students, teachers to coordinate the program. I express my sincere gratitude to all my colleagues for their cooperation, and Manoj sir is there for technical help. Once again, I express the gratitude to all of you for the participation, all the batch students for contributing with the reflections. Thank you once again, ma'am, for a wonderful session. Thank you, ma'am, Ramma ma'am, for a wonderful session for this topic. Thank you, ma'am, once again.
So thank you so much, Kavita, for such a wonderful vote of thanks. So I would also like to extend my gratitude and thanks to the student participants, and ma'am, all credits to Dr. Tanya ma'am. Your team and your students are extremely well groomed, and we can see a glimpse of democracy in the functioning. So this is how it works. So a special thanks to Manoj sir, Swati, Deepika, and Kavita, and rest of everyone who is there on the screen.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Every national anthem is so melodious, yet the most soothing and touching one ends with Jaya He. I would request everyone to kindly take position for national anthem.
गणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
That's all for today's Principal Talk series. Once again, thank you, ma'am, and all the participants for joining us on board. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.